The size of this production is about as big a production as I've ever seen on broadcast TV.
It's very, very lush and very, very beautiful.
The sets are lavish. It's such a grand production, and everything is at your disposal as an actor.
It's a fantastic feeling knowing that you're going to be part of something so massive and so wonderful and so epic.
When we first started discussing the production of the show, I was always drawn to finding these anachronistic ways to approach period stories, whether that was through music, the directorial style, some very stylized costume and production design, the world itself to just be our world, but slightly off.
The challenge is in sort of combining what is in fact a period show, but with a modern twist. If you can keep people within your world, even though it's more modern than it should be, people go with it and enjoy it, and it makes it quite a lot more fun.
It refers to London of 1896, but it's like our London. I wanted it to be like a children's picture book, like a beautifully painted children's picture book, albeit a rather scary and rather grown-up children's picture book.
If you're going to do a show in 1896 London, you either shoot it in London or you shoot it in a place that looks like London, that has the great architecture and the feel of something that is over 100 years old. And London is extremely expensive to shoot in, so we found ourselves shooting in Budapest because it had all the architecture. It feels like Victorian London.
It just fits Dracula to a T because it's got this aged gothic look to it, and everything's kind of a little bit falling apart, but then there's this beauty to that as well.
It's absolutely real and absolutely luxurious to be able to use, these beautiful, old, original, historical places.
You feel like you're on set and you feel like you are set back into that time and that place. It's beautiful.
We got like a little movie in every episode, and the idea of shooting this show, a period piece in Budapest, was actually a brilliant move.
Up to date, we've built about 25 sets and done about 30 locations. It's a big, extensive show. We built a street inside a warehouse so we can film lots of night scenes and night sequences during the day, and to give us control on fog and various elements.
It's one of the most beautiful sets I've ever been involved in. I think it's actually my favorite set on this whole shoot. We use it again and again.
I'll show people this footage from time to time. I'll show colleagues and people who do what I do. I'll say, check this out, and I'll go, that's a set. And they're going, no! It's like, you're kidding me. And yeah, cobblestones, the whole thing.
So we have a scene in the crypt where we find Dracula's tomb.
We had to build a crypt, a large tomb with a carving of Dracula on top, covered in a metal cage to hold him in with spikes through what is a prosthetic of Dracula, which turns into a flat tepes by visual effects.
So this is it. It's basically a full-sized mummy dummy, and it doesn't look like our main actor yet. We start with a dummy, it starts to come alive, and then with visual effects they morph this into the actor as he's waking up from the sarcophagus. There were 3 puppeteers below the sarcophagus. Steve, the director, wanted us to use old-fashioned techniques like rods and cables because he wanted to minimize the visual effects in this sequence. And I believe the saying that it always looks better if it's real.
When we first went into the crypt, I saw the sarcophagus, and I thought to myself, how am I going to get out of it? Because doing this is, it's not very elegant, and it's been done. And I rung up Steve Schillen and I suggested to him that maybe that he floats out of the coffin. And it's quite supernatural because it allows Van Helsing to step back. And just as he's floating and suspended in midair, he spins, whips out his sword and tries to cut Van Helsing's head off. So it's quite sort of beautiful and miraculous and slow, and very quickly becomes very fast, brutal and vicious. So it sets the tone, which is very, very important.
Surely you recognize the blades of St. Eligius. Exquisite, aren't they?
In pretty much every episode, we have a big set piece, huge set piece that visually, I would suggest you probably haven't seen anything quite like it before.
When it came to the ballroom, it's all very well to say that you're going to bring 400 extras, 50 dancing couples, a 12-piece orchestra, as well as having visual effects and special effects all at the same time, and all shot in 3 11-hour days. But we did it.
It's breathtaking.
I think it was a brilliant thing to shoot something like that so early on, because we were all so impressionable at the beginning, and I think it kind of set the tone of what we were making.
It was almost like filmed theatre. It was amazingly grand and rich, and there was so much light and colour, and it was amazing to be part of. It was almost like being part of a big party.
And now, Mr. Grayson would like to share a demonstration of his latest technical marvel.
I give to you tonight power.
Within that show, it's the first time we see the light bulbs illuminate as if by magic, which again we did in camera. So it's a magical scene to start the show.
I trust our little demonstration was illuminating.
Another of my favourite moments was the lovemaking scene between Grayson and Lady Jane, where he keeps confusing Lady Jane for Mina. And people said, well, you know, we imagined this as a motion control shot. I said, no, I'm going to do it as choreography.
We're having sex, and we had to change ladies in the shot without cutting. We didn't want to use cuts.
They would start off having a good old kiss, and the camera would sort of push in, and then I did like an army roll onto the bed as Johnny threw Vic down and away.
I was falling off the bed at great speed, and they're trying not to laugh as I'm falling around the bed, tap her on the shoulder, move over, and I go. It was great. It broke a lot of ice, put it that way.
My idea for the costumes was that we should envy these characters their costume era. That, in other words, we should look at it and say, I wish I could have worn those clothes. The collaboration with Annie Simmons has been very creative, and she fully bought into all the ideas about stylization.
What was required was that all the leading people looked really glamorous and sexy, and you know, and I think they do by and large.
She always describes Lucy as sort of Christian Lacroix, and then Victoria is Alexander McQueen, and Mina is Yves Saint Laurent. So, you know, she's taken all of these sort of modern ideas and mixed it up with period, and it means that it's sort of really easy to relate to.
Costume is shorthand for character. It tells you about them, and it's sort of, you know, so you're telling the story a bit about them, but also trying to find strong looks that weren't, as I said, alienating to a kind of more youthful audience.
I think this show's got a lot of attitude, and I think the attitude comes through a lot in the clothing. Like, the colors are incredible.
The wardrobe, the costumes are so precise and so beautifully done. It makes it very easy as an actor to propel yourself into that time, into the story.
A 3PC holds you in a specific way, so eventually you start to move the way your character would move.
What's funny is, you know, you always see those paintings of sort of period women and they're sort of lounging, sort of very sexily on couches and things like that. They're not doing that for any other reason than that's the only way you can sit when you're in a corset.
I forget I'm wearing one, and then I eat really quickly, and then I can't, it doesn't go anywhere. That's not great.
The biggest stunt job was the rooftop fight between Kruger and Dracula. So there's a lot of wire work involved. We built a massive set for the rooftop. It's a cathedral-like structure with a 180-degree green screen.
When we design sets where fights are happening or any kind of stunt is happening, you have to obviously work out with the stunt arranger, the director, and the camera people, the angles, where you can actually build If, for instance, a rooftop, you're not going to be on top of a building. You build it on the stage floor, and then you use green screens and visual effects to make the appearance of it being higher.
Rob Harris had built an extraordinary set for the roof, but the apex of the roof is very pointy. So it became sort of like quite a complicated little adventure.
We are on a rooftop, and originally the fight was down there below us on a flat ground, but now we are on a rooftop with an edge, and it's quite slippery, so we have to protect the actors, we have to protect the stunt doubles, so it's quite exciting for a stunt coordinator. Go.
My strategy with the stunt work was to shoot it at high speed with a phantom camera. And what this means is that you can slow down or speed up time in post-production at will.
The final image that we're going to have to replace the screen here, what we've talked about with the producers and Carnival and the networks and the director and the production designer is realism. We want everybody to think, wow, they really filmed that on a rooftop in 1895 in London.
I died fair and well, brother huntsman killed. Impale the hearts of many beasts.
It's extraordinary how setting something in a historical basis can make people turn on their imaginations. Using beautiful sets and putting people out of their time comfort zone is a way of allowing them to embrace the fantasticness of what is happening, the brutality, but also the beauty.